Study basers. I want to make sure that you have everything that you need to learn properly. So let's go through a bit of a checklist. First, I'll cover the essentials, and then I'll suggest a few things that are beyond that are just nice to have. Now, since models and products change all the time, I'll be fairly general, and you can always check out the shop page on Studybase for specific and current suggestions. First, and most obviously, you need a bass to play and learn on. So on Studybase, there's an entire buyer's guide to basses, and I give you a few suggestions on what to get. Next, you need a strap. A strap is really essential. It holds the bass for you so that your hands don't have more work to do. So you should always be using a strap. Now, make sure you get a good one, and better ones are wider because they distribute the weight better, and they have some kind of padding to make them more comfortable. Next, you need a bass amp. So you have to have a bass amp. Don't practice without one, especially in the beginning, because if you do, you're going to mess up your technique. What you'll end up doing is you'll pluck the strings much too hard trying to hear yourself. So again, on Studybase, there's a thorough amp buying guide. If you're playing alone at home, you really just need a small practice amp. But if you want to play with a drummer soon, which you should, then you'll need something a little bit louder and more powerful. Also, if you're worried about disturbing others when you practice, then you should look into getting a headphone amp. So they make headphones that have inputs for your bass and some other audio source, like your phone or a computer, and that way you can listen to the Studybase exercises and your bass at the same time, or MP3s and your bass at the same time. Just be careful, don't overdo the volume and damage your hearing. Next, you need an instrument cable to connect your bass to your amp. So you should always have at least 2 of these because they go bad all of the time, so it's good to have a spare. I would suggest getting cables that have lifetime warranties. They're usually better quality and break less frequently, but when they do break, you can always mail them in for a replacement. So instrument cables will have a 1/4-inch plug on both ends, and don't buy really long cables because they're more expensive and they don't sound quite as good. So probably 6 to 12 feet max. You should get a good sturdy music stand to hold books and papers, maybe even your tablet. It really helps with your posture when you play so that you're not hunched over looking at something on the floor or on the couch. So with most music stands, you really get what you pay for, but I'd say at the very least, get a cheap one. A guitar stand is a really good idea. So the more accessible your bass is, the more you're going to practice. Another essential is an electronic tuner. So you need to check that you're in tune every time that you play. So there's lots of different types of tuners, and I cover them pretty well on Studybase. The clip-on tuners are cheap, and they work very well. I really like the ones that don't have the arm, because once that arm breaks, it's not going to work anymore. And that's happened to lots of my students. A metronome is a kind of clock for musicians. It makes a steady pulsing sound that you can adjust the speed of. So it's going to be a big part of your practice routine. Now, you can use the online metronome on Studybase for free, but a standalone metronome is a good investment too. So be sure to get one that makes a clicking sound and not a beeping sound. So the beeping ones, they get pretty annoying, and there's an important exercise that won't work with the beeping one. So make sure your metronome makes a clicking sound. One last essential is you need earplugs. So you need to protect your ears just as much as you would your fingers. So buy some good earplugs, maybe even a few pair, and just keep them with you at all times. So anytime you're going to be exposed to loud sounds, you should be wearing earplugs. So rehearsals with your band or concerts that you go to, always wear earplugs. That's it for the absolute essentials, but I have a few more suggestions that are really handy to have, and most of them are cheap. Some of them are even free. If you transport your bass a lot, you should get a case for it. I recommend getting a soft case with good padding. The hard cases, they're heavy and just more troublesome. So unless you plan on checking your bass on a plane or expect somebody else to handle your bass, all you need is the soft case. Some bass amps have an extra audio input for playing music. So if you have a hard time hearing the bass in some songs that you're playing, or maybe the study bass exercises, then see about getting a cable that connects the audio out of your audio player to the in of your bass amp. You'll have to check your bass amp manual and your audio device manual for the right connectors. Something really useful to have is a program or app that slows music down without changing the pitch. This will make it a lot easier for you to play along to songs or to learn bass lines by ear. And there are a lot of paid apps that you can get for this. You'll need to have the MP3 or a CD so that you can plug the music into the software. But make sure to check the reviews. Some of those software programs, they sound better than others. Now, if you want a free way to do it, you can check out an open source program called Audacity. It's not the simplest software to use necessarily, but it works and it's free. A third option for slowing music down is on YouTube. A lot of the videos allow you to change it to half speed. So just check the setting button on the video and you'll see the different options. Another piece of software that you should download that's completely free is called MuseScore. And it's all about music notation. So it'll allow you to write music notation and print it out. It can read a lot of different music notation files. So it's really handy to have and totally free. You should have some musical staff paper on hand too. We use it to write down musical notes and rhythms or transcribe songs. And you can find books or pads of it online that you can buy, or you can print straight from the PDFs that I've made available on StudyBass for free. You can find sheet music and bass tabs online, but you might consider getting a book or two with song transcriptions. Printed books are often more accurate than what you'll find online, and books are just a bit more convenient to have. Now, when buying bass music, look for books that say something like authentic bass transcriptions on the cover. Because sheet music written for piano and other instruments may be a bit different or simplified. I post songs for many lessons, and I try to suggest songs that you can easily find written music for. One book that I reference a lot is the Bass Tab White Pages. It has a wide variety of songs, and it's pretty affordable. Other than that, there are lots of good books of bass lines for different artists or different bass players. Check out the list on StudyBass. To make progress, you need to practice the right things consistently. Nobody wants to hear that they have to do a lot of work, and people are going to be trying to sell you products that are supposedly going to make things a lot easier for you. They'll make you a master in minutes. Well, there just aren't very many shortcuts. And you're going to see things that seem like a good idea in the beginning, but they don't help and they're a waste of money. I hope this gets you all set up and ready to learn. The beginning is the hardest part, so just be patient with yourself and practice daily.